A sports club had 2,564 members. 130 members left the club after a year. How many new members should the club recruit in order to have 3,000 members? Now, before we continue with this question, we are going to list the 4 steps that we have to do to make equations from word problems. The first step is to read the problem and summarize. The second step is to find all variables and unknowns. And then the third step is to make equations and finally solve. And then our fourth step is to ask ourselves, did we actually answer the question? So now that we know all these steps, let's move on to step 1. We just read the question and now we have to summarize. The sports club has a certain amount of numbers, but they lost a few over the past year. We have to find out how many new members they want to recruit so they can get to their total goal of 3,000 members. So now we're going to move on to our next step, which is find our variables. Our variable is our unknown, and our unknown is how many new members the club should recruit. So we're going to say our variable is x. So we're going to let x equal the number of new members that the club is going to recruit. So now let's make our equation and solve. We know that the sports club had 2,564 members. Then they lost 130 in the span of a year. We need to find out how many new members, which is our variable x, that the club is going to recruit to have a final number of 300 members. So let's start writing things out. Initially, they had 2,564 members, but they lost 130 members. So because they lost members, we're going to have to subtract the number that they lost, which is 130. And then we need to add on the number of new members that the club is going to recruit. So we're going to add on a variable x, and all of that needs to equal a total of 3,000 members. Now let's go over this equation and see if it makes sense. The club originally had 2,564 members, they lost 130, and then we have to add on an unknown variable so the club can be at a final number of 3,000 members. Step 3 of the problem also asks us to solve the question, but in this case we don't have to solve it and we just have to find our final equation. So we just found our final equation, so 2,564 minus 130 plus x equals 3,000 is going to be our final answer and our equation to solve this question.